So basically throughout this episode, we learn that Wanda uses television sitcoms to escape the traumatic reality of her tragic past. I can't imagine what that's like at all. What's up, it's Andre, and it's time once again to talk about WandaVision Episode 8. We're getting close to the end. Spoiler alert, if you have not seen WandaVision Episode 8, you want to go watch it before watching this video, totally understand. Letting you know right now, there will be spoilers. This episode, we start in the 90s. The 1690s, 1693 in Salem, Massachusetts, where we see Agatha. It looks like she's about to be burned at the stake as a witch because they go, "Are you a witch?" And she's like, "Yes." But then twist, there actually aren't villagers. They're actually other witches. And they're like, "You betrayed us, witch." So this, of course, is the origin story of Agatha Harkness. We now know that she's been around since the Salem witch trials, except her witch trial was from actual witches. It's her mother and a coven of witches, and they're saying that Agatha betrayed the coven because Agatha has been using the darkest magic. This is not the first time that we've heard about someone using the darkest magic. If you remember in Doctor Strange, magic was described as being able to pull power from other dimensions, but one of the dimensions you should not pull from is the dark dimension. And we learned that the villain of that movie, as well as the ancient one, was actually doing that. So I'm wondering if this is a similar thing where Agatha is pulling from the dark dimension to have her magic powers, or if this is a different kind of magic altogether. Especially considering that the Doctor Strange sequel, Multiverse of Madness, is supposed to be connected to WandaVision, as well as the next Spider-Man, now we know as Spider-Man No Way Home. Agatha's like, "Look, it's not really me. The powers are bending to my will. I could probably be good and change it if you would just teach me." But they're like, "No, we ain't got time to teach you. We're gonna kill you instead." Zap! So they all start zapping this blue energy at her like they're going to kill her. But then you see this kind of red energy on Agatha on her neck. And then blue and red make purple, because that's what I learned in school. And then the purple energy goes back through the blue energy back to the witches, absorbing their powers. And then once they're absorbed, skeleton fall to the ground. And you see it. You see a bunch of dead witches with dead faces falling to the ground. Even her own mother goes up in the air and is like, "Bah!" And she's all like, "Mother, I can't be good." "No, you can't. Bah!" And she's like, "Bah!" And then mom just boom, down on the ground. And she's like, "And I'm gonna take the brooch." Wanda, on the other hand, knows how to do so much magic, obviously from what she's done in Westview, but Wanda has no knowledge of the fundamentals of being a witch. There's all these magic spells and history and lore, and Wanda knows none of it. There's even a point where Wanda tries to use her magic abilities in Agatha's basement, and she's like, "Do you not see these runes here? I got a spell going on that only allows me to do the magic. How do you not know this? How do you not know any of this?" I especially love the part when Wanda was like, "Who are you?" And Agatha was like, "Who are you?" Changing things, mind control, these are things I can do on a basic level, but you did it for an entire town. You got magic stretching out for miles. You're controlling an entire group of people. Agatha wants to know what's Wanda's secret. Agatha basically is that student that studies and studies all the time to get a C+, B- at best, whereas Wanda is asleep in class, doesn't ever study, probably doesn't even have her books anymore, but yet aces every test. We know that student. We don't like that student. We got to find out what that student's secret is. Then there's all this weird stuff where Agatha mind controls a bug and it like crawls on Wanda's face, and then she turns the bug into a bird and then like choking on the bird before she throws the bird to her rabbit who eats it. She also talks to that rabbit. Who is that rabbit? He ain't the tricks rabbit, I know that. He might be able to do some tricks, some magic tricks, but Agatha also reveals that she is the person that sent Pietro as a spy. Wanda was like, "Oh, you created Pietro?" She's like, "Whoa, I ain't got that kind of power." It was not a creation or raising the dead. She's like, "Yeah, I don't want to bring your brother back. He's in another country and he's full of holes." So instead, Agatha used a possession spell. So Pietro is an actual person just possessed by Agatha, which, again, why did you cast Evan Peters? Could it just been a coincidence? Or is the person she possessing still from a multiverse? We'll find out. They didn't say that. But she did say, dang, Wanda, you were so in your self-doubt that you believe that this random person didn't look nothing like your brother was your brother. So the only clue that Agatha has about Wanda's powers is what Wanda told Pietro, was that before she did what she did, she felt emptiness, loneliness, endless nothingness, as I believe they called it. So Agatha's like, look, if you can't tell me, we're gonna just go through your past and find out what point you became the powerful person you are. So she takes a little bit of hair off of Wanda, which I've just learned now in any movie or TV show. If someone takes a piece of your hair, that's not a good thing. Takes the hair off like she's freaking Crispin Glover in the Charlie's Angels movie, and then throws that hair onto a wall with a bunch of markings on it. And then she opens up a door to Wanda's past. Like literally, like an actual door appears and they walk through it and we go into Wanda's past. The episode is called Previously On, and therefore we're going to see what happened previously on Wanda's life. Agatha even says herself, like, we've been going through all these fake reruns. It's time for you to go through some real ones. On the first phase of the trip, we go through Wanda's childhood. We see her in Sokovia with her parents and her brother, their little kids. And Sokovia is full on in war, like literally outside their door. There's one point where the mom like looks outside the window and the war is literally like right outside her front yard. I know y'all killing each other, but don't step on my flowers. Dad comes home with this suitcase, and inside the suitcase is a bunch of DVDs of television shows. Pretty much all the television shows that we have mentioned from previous episodes. I Love Lucy, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, Who's the Boss, Malcolm in the Middle, The Addams Family is in there. I think some other ones probably would have been in there, but maybe they couldn't get the clearance for them, some copyright issues, but they were there in spirit. And he even has another set of TV shows on DVD inside of a wall. They collect a lot of DVDs of TV shows. I can relate. One, he was using it to help Wanda and Pietro learn their English better. Not only just learn how to speak English, but to speak English without the Sokovian accent, which is now why we learn why Wanda sometimes has her accent, sometimes not. I love that Agatha made fun of that at the beginning. Where are my children? Yeah, accent really comes and goes, doesn't it? But I would also assume that Dad was showing them these sitcoms because they knew about the war around them, and to keep their kids safe and help them escape, they let them watch these funny sitcoms. So now we get the origin of why Wanda is so obsessed with sitcoms. It was something that her and her family watched. Wanda especially loved to watch the Dick Van Dyke Show. They happened to watch one of the classic Dick Van Dyke episodes, the one about the walnuts. Watches a sci-fi movie about the aliens who drink water for air and have walnuts. And then Rob has that dream sequence. Then they have that classic moment in the show where he opens up the closet door and all the walnuts come out, and then Mary Tyler Moore like slides down on the walnuts. That was probably one of the sexiest moments of television. TV was not as risque back then, so Mary Tyler Moore sliding out of a closet on some walnuts, pretty sexy. They're having a good time. They're laughing, watching the TV. Wanda's so happy, then the place explodes. If you remember from Age of Ultron, they told this story about how 2 missiles from Stark Industries landed in their home. The first one killing their parents, the second one landing right in front of her and Pietro, leaving Wanda and Pietro trapped for a couple of days. And up to this point, it's always been assumed that it just didn't go off. But Wanda has a little moment going, in the episode I just watched, it was all a dream. Maybe this is all of a dream too. And she puts her hand out before it stops. And that's when Agatha was like, did you stop that bomb, Wanda? Did you use a probability hex, which I'm guessing is some kind of spell to say, hey, there's a good chance of what I don't want to happen, don't happen, such as I don't want this bomb to go off. Here's a good percentage that it won't. That's something I've been thinking about this entire time watching WandaVision, and even some time before. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they've always kind of alluded that the experiments made Wanda and Pietro have their powers, but this one scene is kind of saying, did they? Maybe Wanda already had some powers before all of that. Agatha needs more proof, so another door opens, and now they go to Strucker's lab. We see her all messed up. She is like a wreck. But she volunteers to do an experiment, and she goes inside of a room where they have Loki's scepter with the Mind Stone inside. Now, at this point, the Mind Stone is still blue, and the scientist, dumb scientist, had the button on so she can hear the scientist, and he's like, you know, no one that's tried this ever survived. And he's like, shut up. So Wanda walks up to the scepter, the stone comes out of it, stands in front of her, the blue part breaks off, and you see the true Mind Stone, the yellow underneath. Wanda is able to see that. Then it starts glowing, pushing her back, pushing her hair back, and she looks up in the distance, and we see this silhouette figure in the distance for a few seconds, and the silhouette figure seems to have the outfit very reminiscent to the Scarlet Witch outfit from the comics or Wanda's Halloween costume. Wanda passes out after that, and what's interesting, and we've seen this happen before with other parts of WandaVision, none of this gets on camera. On camera, it's just standing, lying down on the ground, seeing the Mind Stone and the silhouette figure. None of that was recorded. It didn't happen on camera. I thought it was very cool that when she goes back to her room, she's watching an episode of the Brady Bunch. Bobby is making fun of Cindy because Cindy has feelings for her doll. And he's all like, why do you love a doll? It's not real. It's made up of a bunch of stuff. Yeah, see what they did there? Vision made up a bunch of stuff, but yet Wanda has feelings for him. Ha ha ha! These people are smart! Next stop on the Wanda trauma tour, we go to the Avengers compound. I especially love that they walked in and we saw that this is the nicest place that Wanda has had so far. And Agatha goes, oh, move it on up. And I was like, Jefferson's nice. All right. A black sitcom was referenced on this show. This is after Age of Ultron, after Pietro had died. Vision floats into the room and tries to talk to Wanda and is all like, do you need to discuss what happened with Pietro? I hear that talking through something will give you relief. And she's like, no. You really think talking about my dead brother's gonna make me feel better? You know what made me feel better? If he was still here, if I could see him again. But Vision and Wanda have a great deep conversation because Vision was so sweet and kind to her and she cared for him, that helped pull her out of the darkness. But what happens when you're sad and the person that usually gets you out of that sadness ain't there no more, such as Vision dying, and Vision ain't there to help you feel better after he died. Bum, bum, bum. And that's what leads us to Wanda going to Sword. Wanda went to Sword right after the blip ended. You see all these monitors and televisions in the Sword lobby. They're like families reunited after so many years, people meeting each other again. And it kind of like really hits home of like how weird it is that Wanda comes back, all these people come back, but yet the one that she loves does not return because he's like dead. Kind of in the same vein of Monica losing her mom during the blip. There's no way to bring her back. She was dead. Maybe that's why Monica in an earlier episode says, Wanda, I know what you're going through. I understand that with all these people coming back, that we're two people who lost someone during the blip and we came back and there's no way we can bring them back again. The reason Wanda is there is she knows that they have Vision's body and she thinks it's only right that she gets the body back and give him a proper burial. They finally let her in. She goes into the office and she meets good old Hayward, being a dick as usual. He's like, oh, you want to see the body? Let me show you the body. Come here for a second. There it is. And there it is. And there it is. And it's over there. A little piece over there. We cutting that piece right there. We just took off his part of his head here. We ripped his arm there. You happy? You want to say goodbye? But what was very intriguing about their conversation, Wanda was like, I want him back. And he's like, why? Because, you know, we know you got the power to bring him back. And she's like, what are you talking about? I ain't got no power to bring somebody back. That's a really random thing for Hayward to assume, is that Wanda was so powerful that she could bring somebody back from the dead. I love that he was all like, you could bring him back online. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant back from the dead. He ain't a computer. He didn't say it like that, but he pretty much should have. She's like, nah, I don't know if I can do that. He's like, oh, okay. I mean, I didn't think you could do it either. What are you talking about? I never said that. What I will say is this, that's like $3 billion of vibranium down there, and we ain't letting you put that in the ground. That's money. Always want that vibranium. This is why Black Panther didn't let you in Wakanda, people. He knew what you wanted. Wanda was like, it's the only thing that I have. And Hayward being a dick. Just like, well, that's the problem, Wanda. He's not yours. And that was it. Broken glass everywhere. Walked up to Vision, was all like, oh, I don't feel you no more. You ain't here. Where my man? So she hops in her car. She's got this envelope in her car. She drives off. We get to see Westview before Wanda changed it. We see the boss's wife. We see Herb. We see the dude with the really big mustache. We see that delivery guy again. He's like walking around holding stuff, and they put that camera right on him yet again. No offense to Westview. I understand that people are in a terrible situation where they're being controlled by Wanda's power, but Westview was kind of a crap hole before Wanda showed up. Like, I don't know if it was meant to do that on purpose or if that's just the town they ended up shooting in, but man, that place was run down. All the buildings were old. There was like 5 people on the street. And then when Wanda goes up to this one piece of land, there used to be a house there, but like now it's just like a few bricks and empty ground. In that envelope was actually a deed to that land. Vision and Wanda bought the land and their plan was to grow old together. He even has it written on there on the deed, like a little heart. Their plan was to settle down here and live a normal life after all the craziness went down. But of course, Vision got lost and all of that. Little random side thing, I paused when the deed showed up. The address was Sherwood Drive. And I thought that was really cool because Sherwood Schwartz was the creator of the Brady Bunch. She breaks down She's in the land that her and Vision was supposed to have. There's no house there. There's no Vision there. And this is when Wanda loses it. She's crying. Elizabeth Olsen brought that acting on this one, boy. Like, you better get them Emmys ready. And she goes off. Ha! The red glow is all up in here. And that just goes blah. You see all these digital effects, and then the freaking house gets built. But Wanda's like, that ain't enough. Ah! And the red just starts going everywhere, and everything it hits. 50s, black and white, black and white. I love that you see the Lagos sign for cleaning stuff up, and even says cleaning things up in a snap. Also, I love that it goes by the movie theater, and when it changes to black and white, the movies that are playing are called Big Red and Kidnapped. Everything around her is in black and white, and you think she's done, but she still ain't done. She's all like, ah! And then it's mostly red, but all of a sudden you see this yellow, like Mind Stone yellow, come out, and it starts building and building and building and building and building, and then all of a sudden, black and white Vision. Hello, Wanda. Then she's like, oh, shoot. Black and white Wanda. Hey, how's it going? Ta-da! All this time, we were thinking that that was Vision's dead body just limping around, and that Wanda was using her magic to make it seem like it was a live Vision. But from this scene, what it's telling us is no, this new Vision is a pure creation from Wanda. Like, she used her power to make this Vision, which is probably the reason why this Vision has no idea of his past, because he was literally created. So from this, we learn that Wanda definitely created the whole Westview aesthetic, and Wanda using so much magic, that's what caught Agatha's interest. It lured her to come to that area to see what was going on. So of course, Agatha had to infiltrate, played along the land so she get that information. Then it was this really cool shot where it looks like it's a set of a sitcom, and Agatha is sitting up in the studio audience, slow clapping, like, there it is. Wanda runs outside where Agatha is. Billy and Tommy are there. They got a little something around the neck, like some power being choked. And you got freaking Agatha in the air in full witch attire, looking fierce, just grabbing some magic rope or some magic powers that's just choking Billy and Tommy. They choking these kids. They all like, mama, she choking us, mama. And I don't know, man, this is just a theory right now. I don't think them kids gonna make it. Every time something traumatic happens to Wanda, this type of power seems to get stronger. When the bomb landed in front of her, killed her parents, she was able to use a little bit of power. When Pietro died, you remember she broke down and like all the Ultron robots got destroyed. And then at one point when she walked out after talking to Hawkeye, slow-mo, just blam, blam. You saw how she treated Thanos when she came back after Vision was gone. So if you wanna show Wanda's true power and there ain't much left to kill, who's left? Go. Who's next? What's up, Billy and Tommy? That, of course, is if Billy and Tommy are even real. She apparently created some form of Vision. Could she have created some form of children as well? So they may not be real. But either way, they choking right now. And that's when Agatha's like, you got some of the greatest power in the world and you use it to make these sitcoms. I've been so patient with you. Also, you're not supposed to be real. I was like, wait, what? You're supposed to be a myth. You're not supposed to exist. A being that's capable of spontaneous creation. She said, that's chaos magic right there. I was like, oh shoot, is Sonic the Hedgehog gonna show up? Wanda got the chaos emeralds? Like, what's going on? And then they zoomed in on Agatha. That's chaos magic. And that makes you the Scarlet Witch. And I was like, damn! That's it. Finally, for the first time in this show, we officially get the name Scarlet Witch. Them end credits start, but I was like, last episode you had an after credits. I ain't leaving. We had another after credit scene, this time with Hayward and his team. They're getting ready to strike. So you know when they sent that drone in and then she brought it back like, this yours, slam? Well, some of Wanda's powers, her energy was still on that drone. Now they have Wanda's powers. They're able to connect that with what they've created, what they had left of Vision's body. And we zoom up and we see someone that looks like Vision, except he's all white. His eyes are different, but he's alive. He's like looking in his hand and then they cut. I'm not lying. I am not familiar with all the comic lore, but when that scene happened, I was like, oh, so is that a white Vision? And so I searched white Vision. Turns out that's an actual thing in the Marvel comics, a white Vision. And I was like, oh, so he's probably gonna be like Vision, except he's not gonna have the soul or personality of the original Vision. And sure enough, a description was like, he's like Vision, except he doesn't have the soul and the personality of the original Vision. I was like, dang, maybe I need to write comic books. Yes, they have built a white Vision. That just sounds weird to say. They have a white Vision. And I'm guessing we're going to learn more about that in the next episode because, of course, that's when it ends. No sign of Monica and Pietro, or Fietro, fake Pietro, as Agatha calls him. No sign of them in this episode. Were they just like chilling out? Oh, they're like, oh no, that's a witch fight. We ain't dealing with that. We'll wait till next episode. It's crazy. I love how we've gone from sitcoms to freaking first starting off with the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and then like Twin Peaks, and then Lost. We've completely left sitcom land with this episode. It was sad, it was dramatic, it was traumatic, and I thought it was really nice to give Wanda this backstory. And I think what's happening here, I don't know if this was ever Feige's plan, but I feel like that they kept Wanda's history very vague in the movies, and now that they got Fox, got the rights to use the name Scarlet Witch, got the rights to use mutants, now they're able to use Scarlet Witch any way they want to, almost a little bit of revisionist history on Wanda to be like, oh, we never really said one way or the other how all this happened, so now we can say how all this happened. What about Pietro? Like, we are learning more and more about Wanda and her abilities and how much of it was stuff that she already had versus what she got after seeing the Mind Stone. But what does this mean about Pietro? How is he able to run fast? Are they ever going to explain that? I would like to know. How was the fake Pietro able to run fast? Unless he was able to do that before in another set of movies. I'm just saying, we only have one episode left, although there's some people who think there's going to be a secret 10th episode, which at this point, that would not surprise me. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how all of this is going to wrap up, because we got a lot to wrap up. What did you guys think about this episode of WandaVision? Do you like that they were able to flesh out more of those past of Wanda, aka now the Scarlet Witch? Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. The people from the Dick Van Dyke Show episode about the walnuts can't do that. That's a deep cut. And if you're new here, please subscribe, because I love to geek out over stuff that interests me. I love you like a play cousin. I'm Audi 5000.